And we're live.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the RotoPros pre-lock. August, what are we? 13th?
14th?
14th.
14th already.
Yeah, dude, summer's flying by. 14th MLB discussion tonight, this evening's slate. The hitters we like, the pitchers we like, the stacks we like, the home run targets we like, you name it. The weather concerns, we're here to help you. We're all analyzing the same situation, so might as well do it together. I'm here with Chris Durrell, my co-host and big part of our team here. And how you doing, Chris?
Doing excellent, coming off a tremendous night last night. Cash games and tournaments just crushed. I think I got up in that on FanDuel up like a 224 range. Won all the 100 mans I was in there and crushed cash games as well. So hoping to make it two big nights in a row.
I'm sure our limited viewers appreciate that. I mean, that means you're in for some good info. Guy's
Yes,
on fire.
and
He's locked
crushed
in.
cash games as well. So, oh, sorry about that.
Oh, I was gonna say
Had
deja
some
vu.
feedback in the background.
Uh-oh. I can't even see. I'm relying on you, just to wait for the chat. Can't do. But yeah, so let's start off talking some pitchers, man. Start out with the high tier guys we're looking at tonight, Chris. I know you mentioned Verlander. To me is pretty much your obvious top target, and you like what you've built so far around him. So why don't you talk to the guys about it?
For sure. Yeah, Verlander's the first name to go to. He's the most expensive on both sites. 12.6 on DK, 11.2 on FanDuel. And some people may have a bad taste in their mouth after last time. I wrote him up. I believe that was on my Friday article. He's been really good all season. Coming off his worst start, he gave up 6 earned runs, only went 2 innings versus Seattle. But tonight, he's done 3 times this season. He's given up 5 or more earned runs, and he's come back with very solid performances, double-digit Ks in both of those. He gets a good matchup tonight. The game's at a 7 over/under. He's a minus 215 favorite in the best pitchers park in the league. And he's got a 33% K rate and almost a 14% swinging strike rate. He's facing a Colorado team who has been, they struggled on the road this year. Quite a bit. Like on the road, or even in their last 14 games, they've struggled as well. They've only got a 68 WRC plus over the last 14 days, and they're a worse team on the road as well. So they're definitely someone I'm looking at tonight, and they are worse against right-handed pitching. So, I mean, it checks every box for me for Verlander being the top pitcher if you're paying up. And like I said, I've built some cash builds already, and I'm very comfortable with the lineups with some of the value that's popped up at the top of some of these high implied run lineups tonight.
Something I stick to religiously, but in order to usually have not feel very handicapped to keep my pitchers, if I can combine, who are you building around in cash with Verlander that allows you to still feel good about your bets?
On DraftKings, I am looking at going with either down to J.A. Happ and paying up for 2 pitchers, or even down to Ryan Baruchi of the Jays, rookie pitcher that's done pretty well early in his season. He's coming off 1 bad start, but other than that, 6 of his 8 starts this season, he's given up 2 or less earned runs, so he's been pretty solid. He's not going to get you a lot of Ks, but he's super cheap if you're pairing him looking for an SP2 on DraftKings.
Yeah, I like Baruchi. He's been pretty solid this season. I think his only bad start was against the Sox twice.
Both times.
But yeah, they're the best team. Hard to fault him there. Do you consider James Paxton or Kluber good pivots off of Verlander for GPP purposes? Because Verlander's matchup just simply too good to pass up on.
More looking in the Kluber direction. I mean, he's coming off a season where he's striking out. I think it was a little bit of an outlier because he was like 11.5 Ks, over 30% K rate, but he's kind of fell back to normal this season at 8.5 K per 9. But he's been super solid at 2.74 ERA and 321 xFIP this season. So he's been really solid that way. He doesn't walk a lot of guys, so I think he gets cash consideration. And the Cincinnati Reds have been one of the worst teams in the league here in the second half of the season. So definitely would consider him. He's second in my model on my sheet tonight. And looking at Corbin as someone that I would probably pivot off, in GPPs. He's facing a tough Texas team. They've been red hot in the second half. But like we've seen with Texas, J.A. Happ shut them down in his last start. So they definitely can be shut down, against left-handed pitching. Corbin's got a lot more K upside than Happ does, and he's kind of sandwiched between Kluber and Verlander, and I think he's going to be low-owned, just because of the park. The high implied run total, or over-under overall is at 10. So I think he's going to be super low-owned if you want to pivot off the chalk tonight.
I would agree with that. I will I don't think I'll have. That's pretty well. Is there anyone else a little cheaper you wanted to? Already, he's someone who's been a little bit of I don't want to say an anomaly, but the guy goes to Oakland on the road, one of the hottest teams in the game, and gets almost 30 points. He's got a nice matchup with the White Sox tonight. I think they hit lefties a little bit better than righties, but is he someone you'll be mixing in there in the GPP lineup perhaps, or are you very much on Baruki for only 100 less?
Yeah, I'm more looking at Baruki myself tonight, but I don't think I'll be having enough lineups where I'll be jumping to Hardy. Sorry. The other guy that I'm looking at is a little more expensive. There is Jameson Taillon. He doesn't have the big high K upside, but he produces a ton of ground balls, almost 50%. And he gets a good matchup versus Minnesota, who's, they traded away their two best hitters in Escobar and Dozier there at the trade deadline. Dozier. So it's kind of a little bit of a watered down lineup. So definitely looking at Taillon for GPP as well.
I'm a big Eddie Rosario guy personally, but the lineup's much weaker for sure. Goes without saying. I think you kind of touched on everybody that I was thinking of as well. I may have GPP, the Houston. Obviously not even close to at full strength, missing Springer and Altuve. But Marquez is priced pretty fairly. I like to target him on the road. 8,400 on DraftKings is, I'd say that's pretty. Houston's still the defending champ, so even if they're not at full strength, it's not a team I like to just target against. So, definitely. I think Alex Wood maybe is probably the only guy that you didn't mention that I'll have a little exposure to. I think there's a little bit of value with that price, 8,200. What do you think about that? Is that justified?
No, I'm definitely with you on Wood and Marquez, actually, kind of in that 8K tier on both sites, right around that 8K. I'm more on, Marquez is a big dog tonight, but a lot of people are going to be on Verlander in that matchup. Looking at the two of them, and Marquez, like you said, on the road is a great spot. He goes from like the worst pitcher's park to the best pitcher's park in a game with a 7 over under. And I think since the All-Star break, I've seen something like he's got like a 32% K rate or something like that. So everything checks the box there. Is a nice GPP play, a possible low ownership as well. And then Wood, always concerned about the Dodger pitchers going deep into the game, but he's definitely there in that matchup against San Francisco. I think they've been a little bit better against lefties, but like barely. It's not that big of a split that's glaring or anything like that. So definitely looking at Wood as well, but I don't think I'm going to have him in any of my lineups. I might throw Marquez in a couple GPPs, but for the most part, I'm sticking with Verlander and Happ. Looking at the cash game builds definitely, and then Taillon, Corbin, and then down below looking at Baruki a little bit as well for SP2.
All right, let's move over to hitters. The one thing I'll say real quick before we go, but just Oakland's been pretty cool. They tried a new strategy of just never losing, and it's working out for them. So
going back to Moneyball.
Yeah, exactly. So let's move on to hitters. That's a good segue. RotoPros, DFS guys. Our site will be up and running and back in a couple of days. And
it looks awesome too.
Yeah, exactly. And then we're going to be running a nice couple free weeks or month promotion. We haven't figured it out yet, but really trying to build the community up here. So come join us, have fun, talk. What are your main stacks tonight?
Yeah, so on my sheet I added 5 teams right now. A couple expensive ones. Looking at Arizona again, I was on them last night. They were kind of the core of my cash last night, as well as my GPP, and they ended up, that's where I got winning lineups from. Going back to them tonight, looking at their lineup, John Jay's back at the top of the order. He's only 2,500 on FanDuel, so he's a little bit cheaper there, and he he really fits well if you're going to go Goldschmidt. And then like Peralta's been super solid this season, and then Escobar as well. So you got all those left-handed bats, and then Goldschmidt there against Gallardo, who just really hasn't been very good at all. They're the number 1 projected team, so they're going to be high owned for sure. But I think you can definitely make it work. It's a lot easier to make it work on FanDuel because 3 of them are over 5K, almost 6K for Peralta. And then Goldschmidt's 5,200 on DK, so a little more expensive there, but definitely look at them. The other high-price team I'm looking at tonight, going to Atlanta. I kind of missed out on them last night. I did have Acuna, so definitely going back to him. He's been just smoking hot lately, and what makes him a little more attractive for me, even in cash games tonight with the high price tag, is that Culberson is up. He's moved up to second, and he's very cheap, especially on FanDuel. Sandwich between Acuna and Freeman there, and even Markakis is 4th. So I think it can make this. It makes the stack a lot cheaper for sure, and helps you get those top projected teams.
What happened to Ozzy?
I'm not sure. I haven't read anything yet on him. I'm just going to pull that up. Just says not starting, so it looks like just a rest day.
Interesting.
Yeah, just a rest day. No injuries. Yeah, no doubt. 24-year-old needs a rest day. I need a rest day.
Right? Crazy.
Another notable out tonight.
Please.
Another team I was talking to that I listed on my sheet. Brian Dozier's out for the Dodgers tonight. Kind of shitty. He's had a regular heartbeat. He was removed last night. He was getting some tests. There hasn't been any more reports, but their lineup's not out, but I doubt he's going to be in the starting lineup when you're talking irregular heartbeats and stuff like that, and that could not be good. Might not be good going into the future here a little bit as well, but I still like the Dodgers. They're probably going to move Taylor back to first, and you got Machado, Turner, and Enrique Hernandez, and they all hit lefties well, going up against Andrew Suarez. He's been up and down. He's flashed some upside in his rookie season, but he's also had those blow-up games as well. He does produce a lot of ground balls, 50%, but he's got like a 19% home run to fly ball rate and 40% hard contact against. So he's a nice pitcher I like targeting against, and mostly with those right-handed bats because he's given up a 5.11 slugging percentage and even worse, 44% hard contact rate against those right-handed bats. So definitely looking at the Dodgers. If you want to go a little more contrarian for GPP with those Dodgers down at the bottom of the lineup, I think you could probably pick out Matt Kemp and Max Muncy. Muncy's a lefty, but he hits lefties well. He struggled a bit lately, so is Kemp. So I think they're both going to be low-owned, but a lot of power upside there.
I wouldn't be surprised at all tonight if the winning 4-man stacks were like a little Dodger, 4-mans with hey, probably need a little bit of
and another thing with those late games like that is they sometimes in the main slate, a lot of people, they're, especially if the lineup isn't out right before lock, those late slate games like that 10 o'clock Eastern game.
Overlooked.
Yeah, exactly. They're very low owned just because the lineup's not out yet.
Good point. It's a good thing to tune in at like 6:40 and check that lineup and throw a stack or two in there in a GPP and just be really low owned. But I think you trying to see if there's anyone that you didn't mention. I'll probably have a few Cleveland stacks. Cincinnati, great hitters ballpark. Sal Romano's been pretty solid lately, but I don't really think he's anything special. I don't think he's more than like a number 4 pitcher.
No, not at all.
Exactly. Yeah, and maybe I'll have a couple Boston stacks just because they've been hitting home runs every solid, but I think he struggles against righties? He's reverse splits, right? Or something. He struggles against righties or something.
Sorry, who was that again?
Lefties, something. Nick Pivetta.
Pivetta, yeah, I'm just pulling him up here now.
Maybe that's an outdated stat.
Pivetta is, he's worse against righties.
Right, yeah.
Definitely.
I remember that.
Or no, he's worse against lefties. Sorry, my bad.
Maybe.
He's got a 5.57 ERA, like almost 2 runs more versus right-handed bats, 36% hard contact. So that definitely, I remember last year and even early this season, it was kind of that way. But he's kind of evened out and back to being terrible against lefties more than righties.
Yeah, I agree. Any make those lineups work? Any bats you're plugging in there?
A couple cheap stacks that I think you can make work, especially on DraftKings, something I'm looking at. If you're paying up for Verlander, and say Hap, or you want to get Kluber and Verlander, you want to pay a lot for your two pitcher spots tonight. I'm looking at Baltimore going up against Jason Vargas. He's given up 20 earned runs in his last 5 starts, which is like a 9 ERA, and which is not going to be sustainable by any means, but still the xFIP, a little more predictable, still over 5, so it's been awful. No home runs in his last 2 starts, but he's again up in that 40% fly balls, 40% hard contact, 19% home run to fly ball rate. Excellent target. I mean, I never really enjoy rostering the Orioles, especially without Manny Machado in that lineup anymore. I believe Trumbo's back in the lineup tonight. And one thing they did do was move Beckham down the lineup and Renato Nunez up. He's been playing very good, especially on FanDuel. I'm looking at him at 2,400, especially in my cash game lineups as well. And then, of course, the Tigers again. They're super cheap. I think their top 4 hitters combined price right now on FanDuel is $10,700 and $16,500 on DraftKings. So they're both right around that $16,000 on DraftKings and $10 to $12K on FanDuel combined for a 4-man stack. So can make it work if you want to pay up for 2 pitchers.
Yeah, and there's at least DraftKings purposes, Dan Hansen, Blue Jays catcher. Oh, your boy, Blue Jays catcher. He's 2K. So
yeah,
if you really want to go crazy. Lander with someone Hap, like you said, or someone around there. Who else? Orioles, man. Look, sometimes let's talk about this, Chris, real quick, since you brought it up. I personally think it is a real thing, like with a team like Baltimore that's very not very sexy, but the stats support them. You have to get over the bias sometimes, and leave extra cash on the table, or be okay with spending less on your bats and just trust the process, so to speak. That's definitely a real thing.
Yeah, I mean, with the variance in baseball, you get a lot of those high projected teams, like say for instance, the Diamondbacks tonight projected for like 5.5 runs. With the high variance in baseball, if they're going to be high owned, it makes sense to go against them. And maybe if people are going to be going to Arizona, they're going to be going with cheap pitchers in GVPs. So on the contrary, if you want to go with Baltimore cheap bats in your stack and then jump up and pay up for 2 pitchers, that's going to be a contrarian approach. And with that high variance, I mean, that can work out a lot. There's a lot less variance with pitchers, so you're getting that on your side. Plus, the Baltimore gets a tremendous matchup against Jason Vargas, who just loves to give up home runs and hard contact. That can definitely work out for you.
Interesting strategy, and maybe one that I employ myself in the GPP tonight. Any other cheap guys you want to mention? I guess Jeff McNeil's been pretty popular with the Mets. He's a good price. Sal Perez is pretty cheap. He smashes lefty.
Ahmed Rosario is what I'm looking at.
Yep, definitely. He's at 3,600. He's been hot. Steven Souza, another guy. He's, I don't know. It's kind of pricey for a 5-hitter, but Renato Nunez, I'm a big fan of too. And then I guess who are your top home run targets tonight for people that want to focus a little bit more on the bats?
Well, I mentioned 2 already in Acuna and Goldschmidt. Those are definitely 2 that I'm going to be looking at for home runs tonight. And then I do like Justin Turner against Andrew Suarez in that Dodger game. And if Trumbo, I just want to check it out here. Yeah, he's back in the lineup. I definitely like Trumbo as well in there. He's a big bat. I don't think he's going to be high on again because it's the Baltimore Orioles. And other than that, Nick Castellanos had himself a night last night. I don't know if he can duplicate it.
Yeah,
might want to look to Nico Goodrum. It's a Lucas Giolito day.
Yeah, a little switch hitter action. Lefties, even though last night he showed he can do it against anybody. I guess the usual suspects tonight. Justin Upton's been pretty hot. He's been kind of out. Stanton, home run. The Rays are doing a little bullpen game tonight, and Wood, Hunter Wood or Henry Wood, whatever his name is. Stanton's got a nice 2 for 2 off of him already. Very small sample size, but just kind of need Stanton to pull the weight a little bit here. I'm sure he knows that, so he's always safe to plug in there. I guess a little bit more off the map. You can target the Mets are probably feeling pretty good after last night, so if you take a little Baltimore stat at lefties, that wouldn't be a bad idea.
Yep, 100% agree with you.
That's I think that's it for me. Do we you can't really see it. I want to switch in. Or are we good?
No, I think we're good.
Cool.
Definitely, if you have any last minute questions, jump in RotoPros Slack chat. I'll be in there right up till lock.
Perfect.
Kind of looking at this weather. Looks like possible chance for rain when you're looking at the what games do we got here? The Twins game looked like there might be some rain early, but it clears, so no problems there. It's kind of same with the Baltimore and Philly. The rain looks to be really early, so there might possibly be a delay to the start of those games, but chances are I would say they're like 80 to 90% going to play through, so not really worried anyway. I'm not really looking at any pitchers in any of those games with a chance of rain anyway, except for J.A. Happ, of course. I'm going to be paying attention to that one in New York, but other than that, I think we're good to go.
All right, real quick, just to sum it up, me and you will both do offensively runs, just straight up in terms of who will score the most runs, nothing about value or price. Do it with that and just do your top stacks for most runs, best guys to target.
Yeah, definitely Arizona #1 for me. Cleveland's right behind him facing Sal Romano. I'm actually going to go a little bit off the board and say Baltimore is my #3, followed by Atlanta, and then Los Angeles. Detroit in there after them, of course.
Yeah.
But, a little more risky with Detroit, I think.
All right, I like it. That's a top 6.
Went deep there.
I think my Yankees are going to, get the bats going tonight. It's a beautiful night. It's raining a lot in New York, but the sun's shining now. Like we talked about, Rays bullpen game. We'll see what happens. The Yankees need to make up some ground. I think they know that. But they're not my #1. Probably, I don't want to just say Arizona's #1 tonight. I think I'd like to have the Dodgers as my #1. 4 being Texas. That's it.
Cool.
That's and then 5 Baltimore. I don't know. It's something. The order doesn't really matter in the 3 through 5, but
just kind of those are the teams we're looking at.
On the picture. Cool. Thank you, Chris. My show is getting a little choppy, so I want to cut this off before things get crazy here. Let us know what you guys think. We're always open to changing the show or whatever and just making it more about addressing your needs.
We're here for the people.
Yeah, exactly. We're here for the people, and we will continue to be strangers for our relaunch in a few days, and let's make this a great community. Thanks, everybody.
Cheers.
Good luck tonight. Bye.